This week with Tim McGinnis.
The June primaries are coming up quickly. This week we're going to hear from more candidates, this time 2 candidates for state representative. And then a little bit later we're going to hear about a dog that represents a firehouse and how you can help out the organization that helped that dog. But first off, we'll talk about state representative for the state representative for District 56. That's all of Carolina Forest. Last week we had Mike Ryhall on. He's running against Dennis DiSabato for the Republican nomination. Dennis DiSabato joins me this morning. Dennis, you ran the first time around for District 56, which is a newly created district. You lost to Mike Ryhall. Now you're running again.
Yes.
Why are you doing that to yourself?
Well, quite frankly, I believed 2 years ago that I was the right person for the job, and nothing's occurred in the last 2 years to really change my opinion about that. I believe that I can give more effective leadership to the community. I think I can deliver more conservative votes to the community. I think that's what the district wants. It's not just Carolina Forest, it's Forest Brook, it's areas along Highway 90 all the way up almost to Longs. And you know, there's a lot of needs out there, and there has not been a lot done to support some of the needs out there, and I think that I can do a better job of representing that community, and that's why I've decided to run again.
For people who don't remember who you are from the last time,
sure.
Who are you?
I'm
Dennis DiSabato.
Yes,
we know
sir.
that. We got that out of the way.
I'm a real estate attorney in the Carolina Forest area. I've been involved in conservative and Republican leadership at a grassroots level for 7 or 8 years now. I was a founding member of the Carolina Forest Civic Association. We've done a lot of grassroots work to get things accomplished in Carolina Forest, and recently engaged in starting a family here in Horry County.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Talking about Carolina Forest, which is the fastest growing part of the state, one of the fastest growing parts of the country.
Sure.
Obviously, talk to some people who live in Carolina Forest and they'll tell you one of the big needs is infrastructure. You need to relieve the traffic on Carolina Forest Boulevard as well as Highway 501. What's your plan? What would you do in Columbia to make that happen for the people of Carolina Forest?
Well, I would do things differently than what Mike's been doing. What I would first do is I would cut and eliminate some of the waste in Columbia in an effort to make sure that there's more money to spend. The government really belongs in just very few businesses. One of those businesses is roads. That's one of our biggest concerns, not just in Carolina Forest, but along Highway 90. Once you complete International Drive, there's going to be stress on the Highway 90 roads as well. I've talked to a lot of voters out there recently. They're concerned about road widening and turn lanes over there as well. We desperately need it in Carolina Forest. So we need to eliminate waste, and we need to make sure that the state legislature is funding local governments the way that they're supposed to. And we need to make sure that, that we're fighting to get our fair share back from the state government. Horry County, as you know, is one of the highest tax-paying counties in the entire state. We get very little back for our money. And I think that that needs to change, and we need a leader who's going to go up there and stand up for those residents that he serves and try and get that money back here so that we can do the things that we need, like build roads. It's not enough just to, you know, be kept apprised of what's happening. You've got to actively go out there and do something to affect change. And in my opinion, Mike hasn't done that.
I-73 is something a lot of people talk about. We talk about, I think, with just about every person who's running for elective office in this area. Now, obviously, this money isn't going to come from the state. Most of it's going to come from the federal government. Could come from tolls. A study's being done now to look into that. What would you do from the state level to work to get I-73 here?
Well, I'm not opposed to I-73, but I think there's probably more cost-effective and probably more reasonable ways to get interstate travel into Horry County. From what I'm hearing, it's a reasonable expectation that we can have SC31 connect to Interstate 74 in North Carolina within 4 to 5 years. So I would do more to help move that project forward necessarily than going after I-73. I think that that would alleviate strain on a lot of our thoroughfares. If we can get some more interconnectivity through our local communities, we could get strain off of 501. And I think that that's one of the things that I'd like to do, going back just a second, just trying to get more funds to our local government and using the seat in Columbia as a bully pulpit over the county council, saying, if you want me to go to bat for you to get local government funding to do the things that you need to do here, well, then you got to start delivering on the promises that you've given to my constituents. And that includes not pushing back roads like International Drive, getting turn lanes and getting, you know, Carolina Forest Boulevard widened, getting turn lanes on a Highway 90, making sure that those roads are safer and they're well policed. And those are the things that I would do if I went to Columbia.
Let's talk about jobs now. StarTech has announced that they're coming to Carolina Forest near the intersection of River Oaks Drive and International. That's obviously going to need a lot of infrastructure work, but 600 jobs, nothing to sneeze at. What kind of jobs would you like to see come to the area, and how will you build up the infrastructure to help to attract those companies to the area?
I think the Economic Development Corporation has been doing a fantastic job of bringing more jobs to Horry County. And StarTech is certainly not something to sneeze at, but it's 600 call center jobs. They're not relatively high wage jobs. They're not low wage jobs, but they're not high wage jobs. I think we need to do more to attract manufacturing to this area. And unfortunately, the only way to do that is to put a major thoroughfare interstate connectivity to Horry County. So that way you give manufacturing firms the ability to get their products in and out of the area. Probably need to do some more with the Port of Georgetown, try and get that dredged and have some accessibility to the county from there. But I-74, I-73, doing more to clear up US 501, light synchronization on 501, upgrades on 501. You know, my opponent talked about finding funding for the 501 road widening towards the beach. I want to clear up a misconception. He claims to have found funding, but he pushed the project back from 2016 to 2020. That's a bait and switch. We need leaders that are going to be in Columbia that aren't promising projects, they're delivering on them. And I want to be one of the people who helps deliver on them.
What's something that you want to do that hasn't been done, or something that would be something new that you'd bring to the table for the people who live in the area?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed from a legislative standpoint. The Conway water issue is one of them. You know, but that was the main focus of my, campaign 2 years ago. Roads was another main focus. I really think that what I'd like to do is be more conservative in my approach to how money is being spent, fight to make sure that there's funds coming back here to Horry County, and then make sure that the county is using those dollars wisely to help fund infrastructure programs. That's our main concern in the areas that I represent or would represent, infrastructure.
All right.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Once again, you would represent Carolina Forest area. You mentioned up toward Highway 90, parts of Longs, Forest Brook. What do you want to say to the people who live in those areas? Why should they vote for you?
There's 3 reasons that I think people should vote for me. The first one is it's new leadership to bring about real results. I will not waste the taxpayer dollars the way our current incumbent is. I would fight to make sure that there's more money coming back home so that it's spent on projects here in Horry County. And my promise and my pledge is that if in 2 years you haven't seen those more conservative votes and that decisive leadership, you should vote me out of office. If you're happy with the incumbent's record right now, vote for him again. But also, I take a more direct approach to how to legislate. I've told people, my goal is not for you to put your trust in me and let me go to Columbia and make decisions on my own. I want more feedback from the community. I want to have town halls. We haven't had town halls. I don't want to be a full-time legislator. I don't think people want a full-time legislator. I want to be here on the ground talking to voters and getting their feedback and input on what things are going on in Columbia so that we can address those issues with their input, not on my own decision. And I think that's how a legislator, a representative, should handle the business of legislating in Columbia.
All right, Dennis DiSabato, candidate for District 56, State House seat. Thanks for being with me this morning.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Carolina This Week.